Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you all again. I wait for 4 o'clock to come. I love it. Um, Today is about imaginary body. I know that it said on your little email invite that be prepared to move, but we're not moving today. We're going to do something different. I have on different headphones, not tethered to the computer like I have been. Because there are too many of you, I forget how many participants there are, like 25 of you. And imaginary body has to do with character. There was no way I could side coach 25 of you. So I have asked Ava to be my demo person. So I'm going to ask Katie now if she will mute all of you, except for Ava and me.
Okay.
And that way my voice will be the only voice that you can be on your camera. I don't care about that. But I want Ava to only hear my voice as I coach her through the exercise, if that's okay. I want you to take advantage of that chat box, which is down at the bottom of the screen, so that all the time that we are going through the exercise, if you have questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat option, and I will get to them as I can. And if I don't get to them while we're going through the exercise, because sometimes questions pertain to a specific part, then I will get to them in the spy bag. So, and I will touch my face a lot because my hair is driving me crazy. My demo person is the lovely Ava Heal, one of our wonderful associate teachers. Wave, Ava. Ava is the new assistant professor of theater at Sul-Ross University in Texas. Yay! We're very happy for Ava. Very happy for Ava. Yes. And she's going to be the person who will go through the exercise today, go through the process of the exercise today, so that you guys can understand what it is I'm going for. Now, this is a new exercise, at least to me. I don't claim ownership of it. It is something that I've been working on with students for a while now, since I retired actually from full-time teaching, because I find that I'm working with students who don't have a familiarity with Chekhov, so my vocabulary means nothing to them. And I had to find a way to make it work. So this is from my reading, it's from watching other people teach, it's from seeing our wonderful students work. It's just an amalgamation of things that I sort of put together. But I don't claim ownership. The old exercise that I used to teach, which some of the associate teachers might be using, is the sculpting exercise. Now, I noticed that both Jen and Ava taught imaginary body last year at GLMCC. I'm not sure how they taught it. Doesn't matter. We trust them. They know the technique and they will teach to their strength. The first couple of years of GLMCC, I taught imaginary body. So Ava and Dan and everybody that went through that first class, Melissa, forgive me if I don't mention everybody's name, that's what I taught. I taught the sculpting exercise. And I have the books here. Sorry, I had to go away for a moment. If you got Mark's first book, Directing with the Michael Chekhov Technique, you will find a version of the sculpting exercise that Melissa has created. It's a wonderful exercise. Check that out. It comes from the base exercise that I taught to receive my certification with Misha when they used to do that. They no longer do it, of course. And I was assigned to teach imaginary body, so I came up with this sculpting exercise based upon something in To the Actor that Chekhov says. He says, you put on your character like you put on a suit of clothes. And that gave me this idea that I went with. Now, in Mark's second book, The Application of Michael Chekhov Technique to Shakespeare, his sonnets and so forth, Mark had asked me to write down the original exercise that I had come up with, so that he could put that in there, because what we want is to share these exercises with everybody so that you can then go on and enhance them and teach them in your own way. You know, we say in the third year, teach in your own voice. Take these exercises, make them your own, teach in your own voice. So while that exercise may be familiar to some of you, that's not what we're doing today. We're going to do something different. Excuse me, something different. So Ava, let me ask you please to cross the threshold and activate your Actor's Ideal Center. and then just give me sort of a heads up when you're ready to go. As Ava does this, I want to tell you that the reason I came up with this, as I said, was because I work with students who don't have a familiarity with the technique, but also I was thinking of a way to do imagination, incorporation, transformation, which of course is what Chekhov wants from us, and it's what we use at GLMCC. That's sort of our motto: imagination, incorporation, transformation. And for me, this process that I'm going to take you through, I think involves that. Now, the first thing that happens when we are cast in a show, or we are assigned in class a character to work on, is that we want to read that. So we read the play. And hopefully if you're in a show, you've already read the play. So you start to activate that imagination. We're actors, we're artists, and as soon as we read it and we know that's going to be ours, we start to imagine things. So I asked the students that I'm working with to bring in a picture, an image that speaks to them about the character, that inspires them about the character. And they have to bring in hard copy. That wouldn't work for our purposes today. We have a picture that Ava will share in a minute. But it's important that they have hard copy, so you can put it on the wall in the classroom or the rehearsal hall, or they can put it in their 3-ring binder, so they always have it with them and we can refer to it. There are times when we sort of lose that inspiration and we want to have something to go back to. So if that picture is there, that works. I also asked them to come up with 3 words that speak to them about the character. It could be something they got from the image that they're sharing. I got a question here. What is that question? Does it need to be an image of a person? No, seldom, Sarah, is it Sarah Kinsey asked, does it have to be of a person? I don't think I've ever, when I've done this, have had a person who brings in a picture of a person. They just don't. The 3 words are just words that inspire you about the character. And these usually come without too much thinking. They just sort of appear. So Ava, I'm going to ask Katie now to let us see the picture that you chose. And would you tell us,
just one second here.
Yeah, so I decided to work on Nora from A Doll's House, and this is the image I picked.
what spoke to you about this image?
The idea of, taking a natural wild creature and pinning it down in a box just made me think about Nora's journey of society and what's expected of her, and her role as a mother and a wife, and sort of all the things that are quite literally pinning her down and sort of suffocating her truth and her wildness. And
I think it's a great image for that. When you first showed it to me, I first saw it last night when you sent it, all I could think of was she's always, if we were true to the time period, much of her clothing would be pinned on her.
Oh,
and so it just sort of enlarged the image for me. Great. So keep the picture there, but then tell us your 3 words, Ava.
my 3 words are caged, squirrel, and little.
Tell us why those words.
I initially was going to look for a squirrel image, but because he calls her his little squirrel a few times, but I think that there's something very like furtive, is that the word? Like she's saving the money that she's getting from him because she's trying to pay off this debt, and she's just doing a lot of things in the house. There are lots of meetings in little rooms and then closing the door and going into other rooms. So there's just this image of that squirrel, like hiding nuts, that type of thing. And then caged, just a similar thing with this image of the pinned butterfly, of just having all of these restraints, and trying to live within within all the expectations, and she's trying to do the right thing by getting money to be able to take her husband away to get better. And she just, but now she's sort of caged in all these lies. And then Little, he calls her Little 1,000 times throughout the play. Little dove, little squirrel, little songbird, little Nora, little darling. Like he says little so much. And so I was just thinking about that sort of idea of being small in a space and what that might do. It came up so many times that I felt like it was something to possibly explore.
That sounds great. Katie, you can take the picture away now if you want. And Ava, I'm going to ask you to adjust your computer screen so you can stand up and we can see you. And when I ask you to move about the space, don't be worried about sometimes if you have to move out of frame a little bit. You can always come back to this position and we'll see you. Okay? It's important when we're working with students that we ask them to articulate the why of the image and the why of the words, because this is a part of the imaginative process. This is the kicking off that imagination, incorporation, transformation. And when we share it with one another and we share, an entire cast shares it, then we're sort of all on the same page and you're beginning that ensemble and that life with these characters that we're all going to share, because of course they've shared their images and their words. So now we're in the same play together. And so I think it's very important to articulate that. Now, Ava, I just want you to move as much as you can through your space. I know it's small. It's okay. It's okay. We're all confined in spaces these days. Not many of us have access to studios where we can work. Just take in whatever is in your space. Breathe in what's there. The space is different now because you've been talking to us, sharing with us the image and the words. And so there's a different quality to that space now. And if we're in a rehearsal hall or a classroom, we have an entire space in which we can explore and really let the character, the image that you've chosen, let that sink in. Now, Ava, as you walk through the space, I want you to let that image come alive in your imagination, the image of that butterfly. And I want you to take it in. And I want you literally to embrace it. Embrace that image. And use the gesture of embrace to take it in. Beautiful. And I want you to take it into your actor's ideal center. Just put it right there. Your feeling center. So now the image is alive in you. Those of you who have done Mod 1, you might remember the concentration exercise where we talk about taking the image of the drum inside. This is just another example of how we do that, a lesson in concentration. Now begin to walk again a little bit, Ava. And as we're talking, Jessie, she said squirrel, caged, and little. Now, Ava, as you walk and you have the image, I want you to think about those three words. The squirrel, little, and caged. And I want you to bring those into your actor's ideal center as well and create the entity that you shared with us just a few minutes ago. Now, in a class, in a rehearsal, there would, of course, be a lot of time for you to do this. I would say you would have to take at least 10 minutes to let these words and these images sink in as the student moves through the space. And if you're doing it on your own, and I have done this process on my own, you have to allow yourself the time, not to rush. I'm one of those impatient people, I want to get right to it. But you have to discipline yourself to take the time. Unfortunately, Ava doesn't have a lot of time because we have a time limit on our Zoom session today. Now, Ava, I'd like you to come to a pause. I'm going to ask you to do something that we don't often do in Chekhov, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And don't panic, everybody. We're just going to be closing our eyes for a small portion of this exercise. But I found in working with students that if I have them close their eyes at this point, it really does help them in the imaginative process for this exercise. Now, with the image and the words alive in you, Ava, I want you to see the character somewhere in front of you. Think of a wide angle shot in a movie. You're just getting the overall impression of the character. You're not focusing in on a lot of details. You're just getting the overall impression. Are they tall? Are they short? Are they heavy? Are they slim? Is there a particular stance? The shape in space, does it look like it has a particular stance? Can you get a sense of their subjective atmosphere? Do they seem confident? Do they seem happy? Sad? Scared? What do you feel is there? And now I want you to imagine that you're going in for a closer shot, maybe a 2-shot. You're going in because we're going to observe the details of the character. After about 10 minutes in a classroom, we begin this part of the exercise. So go in closer, Ava. Observe the details. What color is the hair? Is the skin color pale or dark? What color are the eyes? Notice all the detail. Notice the hands, the fingers. You know, Chekhov was obsessed with those things. Do they, if it's a female, do they have nail polish on? Does this character bite their nails? Are they short nails? How do they carry their arms? Are they standing in a particular way? Is the weight shifted one way or another? Don't worry if you can't see some things. You can't complete it, that's okay. We'll come back to that. It will all be there. This would happen over a period of time in a rehearsal process to complete all of these details. And for this particular part of the exercise, again, I would take at least 10 to 15 minutes with the student. Now, Ava, I want you to imaginatively change your perspective. Change the angle from which you observe this character. If you have been standing facing them, now go around to the back. If you've been looking down from above, look up from below. Change the perspective. I think it's important when we work with students that we ask them to change the perspective because of the fact that, you know, students like to latch on right away. Oh, I've got it. I've got this thing. And I can work with that. And that is probably not the best. It's wonderful they have the impulse. Let them explore the impulse, but then encourage them to find another impulse, to experiment and explore with another impulse. You may go back to that first one, but we have to explore the possibilities that are there. So change the angle imaginatively and see what you see that's different. We don't want students to get locked in too early. We don't want ourselves to get locked in too early. Okay, we want to allow whatever you see to be there. It may be different than what you expected to see, but that's okay. We don't judge, we just accept and allow. All right, Now I want you to back away a bit, Ava, imaginatively. You don't have to move. And I want you to go back to that wide angle shot. And I want you to look at them again and see what the differences are. Where is this character? Where are they standing in space? Are they outdoors? If they're outdoors, is it day? Is it night? Is it raining? Is it storming? Is it a clear, starry night? Is it cloudy? If they're outside, are they in a field? Are they in a forest? Where are they? If they're inside, where are they inside? Are they inside a particular room in a house? Are they in a hospital? Are they in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the parlor? What's in the space with them? What kinds of things surround them? It's important to know where our characters exist. And yes, this is only one moment that we're dealing with here in the play, only one moment in time. But at some point, the character will live here. And from here, we can go to other places. We can explore other places. But right now, it's just one place. So see what's in this space. Fill in that space around them. Is this a place that makes them feel comfortable or uncomfortable? Are they at peace in this space? Does the subjective atmosphere that you noted before affect this place? Or does the place affect the character's subjective atmosphere? Important difference there. Now, Ava, I want you to ask your character. You won't do anything. You're just going to observe. I want you to ask your character to show you how they smile, how they laugh, how they walk. You know, it's in the chapter on character and characterization. Chekhov says you have to ask your character to sit down in the chair opposite from you, and you have to ask it questions. You want to understand how your character thinks, what they know about themselves. So ask your character, ask Nora to do these things for you. Just, it may be different than what you expect. She may walk differently. She may sit differently. Doesn't matter. Just observe and accept. You are activating the image of Nora in this space. I want you to observe if she's talking to someone, animate this image. How does she use her hands when she talks? Is she a volatile speaker or is she sedate? What does her body language say to you? Again, just observe and accept. And now, Ava, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And I want you to ask your image to come stand next to you. Or if you prefer, you can just move to stand next to them. Imaginatively, however you want to do it. And I want you to walk around them 360. And notice the difference in their height, their shape, relative to you. What is the difference? Are they taller than you? Are they shorter than you? Are they heavier than you? She's certainly perhaps dressed differently than you. And now we're going to come to the incorporation part of this exercise. And remember when we, again in Mod 1, in the concentration exercise where we, after we worked with the drum, we worked with a partner and we stood palm to palm, feeling the energy of the other person. We're going to begin to do that now. Ava, I want you to face your image. And I want you to ask permission of the image to put your hand on their heart. And I want you just simply to listen to the body. Feel the beating of their heart. Feel their breath. We have to be quiet inside ourselves so we can listen to what is inside our character. Feel that connection. When you feel you have the connection, I want you to walk around to the back of the character. And now I want you to step in to the character. Step into that body. And just stand there and listen. Listen to what the body is telling you. Allow it to connect with you. Feel what it's like to breathe with these lungs, to see through these eyes. Be sensitive to their inner tempo. You have with you, inside this body, you have your image and you have your words. Those are the things that started us on the path to this character, to this incorporation. So just let that be there. This is now your imaginary body. Now, I want you, when I say to, don't do it right away. I want you to move as you asked Nora to move before and you observed her. All those things that you observed her doing, do those things now. Go ahead. Keep going, Ava. I'll just speak over you. In a rehearsal or a class situation, obviously this would go on for a very long time. All of these, the various steps of this exercise take a lot of time. But this time is especially important because we want the student to be able to activate, incorporate what their imaginations came up with, and now they're able to do that. And we want them to be able to take the time to do that. Now, Ava, I want you to go stand where you began. In your character, in your imaginary body. And I want you to imaginatively inventory the things about this body that are different than your body. I'm sure there are many things. But go through those until you can find one thing that activates this body differently than yours. What is it that's different? The differentiation between your body and this character body. Identify what that is. When you think you found it, just give me a sign, okay? Can you stand back, please, so I can see fuller, more of your body? Yeah, thank you. And as much as you can, I want you to step out of the body now. And Ava, I want you now, when I say to, I want you to step back into the body. And as you make the transition into the body, I want to see what happens, the transformation that happens as the body, the character body, the imaginary body is yours. So whenever you're ready. Did it happen? Did it activate? Step out. What is it that you activated that's different?
Like a pulling up of my sort of sternum and neck, chin.
Okay. Try it again. Okay, step out, Ava. Ava, I see you, once you step in, then it activates after you're already there. Can it begin the activation as you step? In other words, I can't, I'm not explaining it well, I guess, but as you take that, what?
In the transition?
Yes, yeah. That's much better. Try it again, step out. What I'm looking for is that moment when we cross the threshold as actors from backstage to onstage. And that in that instant of stepping, crossing that threshold, that's when the transformation happens. That's when that we have to be fully in the body. So it literally happens in that step. Good. Do it a couple more times just to make sure it's there. Yeah, it's happening with the shoulders too, Ava. Step out. Do you feel it in the shoulders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Here.
yeah. Everything's there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's not just the chin coming up, which is the only thing I could really see in the beginning, but it is the shoulders too. That's great. One last time. Good. Step out. And let the image dissolve. And shake it off. Jesse, I'm going to get to your question in just a minute. Okay, so Ava, you can sit down because I'm going, yes, get a chair, sit on one of your moving boxes.